guru theory. If someone wants to become a guru in ISKCON, then there has to be a no objection vote taken. And if there's no objection by any GBC member, then they become guru automatically. This is the qualification. So this political kind of arrangement for making guru will never work. And neither the Ritvik theory has been proven to work. How many disciples have these Ritvik people initiated? How many new devotees have they created? They don't report the number of new devotees because it's so embarrassingly small, so tiny, vanishingly small, that they don't talk about it. They say this is a wonderful new theory and this is actually what Prabhupada wanted, and so on and so forth. But if it's actually what Prabhupada wanted, it would be what Kṛṣṇa wanted. And if it was what Kṛṣṇa wanted, it would work. Because Kṛṣṇa never gives any impractical advice. All of Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad-gītā and so forth are completely practical. If you follow them, you get the result very reliably. That's our experience. So if you follow some instruction that's given in Vedas, then it's going to have a good result. And we experience that good result every day. But if someone is following some speculation or some deviation or something in defiance of the order of the spiritual master, they're not going to get anywhere with it. It's just a waste of time and energy. And when we look at the scene of our Godbrothers today, that's all we see. We see them wasting their time and energy, making futile efforts, because it's all politically motivated. So when this mood starts to develop in this saṅga, we say, okay, you either correct yourself or you have to leave. We're not angry at anybody. We don't. It's not like we enjoy kicking people out. We don't. But we have to maintain the purity of the saṅga, so that we can continue to preach and teach the very, very elevated and advanced subject matters without any distortion. Then later on, you see all these videos and these different essays and things that will become compiled into courses and books and be used to instruct students in the future about how they can become qualified to be pure devotees. So it's a necessity that we keep this association very pure. Even if it's very small, we don't mind. Quality is better than quantity. When it comes to satisfying Kṛṣṇa, you cannot measure the results by quantity, but the quality is very, very important. Kṛṣṇa is satisfied if there's one pure devotee. That means the lineage will continue and the same teaching will be available to the next generation. But if there's 2 or 3, that's very nice also. My mood is that, you know, I'm 63 years old and I'm basically retired and I have a pension coming. I'm not dependent on the donations from students or devotees. Actually, all the money that we get in donations from the devotees goes right back into offering services to the devotees. We don't live off of that money. We don't, our travel expenses, our living expenses and all are covered by my pension. You see, so any donations that come, we invest them right back into programs that will be used to educate the devotees, and you know, in the future maybe we'll have a community or an ashram someplace in India, depending on what Kṛṣṇa wants. But what Kṛṣṇa wants, we're absolutely sure of that. Kṛṣṇa wants all of our devotees to be kind, respectful, truthful, pure, and learned. So if some of the devotees begin to confuse things and start to preach some other philosophy, Well, we have no objection about that. They can go anywhere they like and preach anything they like. Just don't do it here. Don't do it on our time. Don't do it on our network. Don't do it to our students. And if you do, you make an offense. And that offense can only be counteracted by dealing with the issues with me. You see, and that's the last thing they want to do. All these people who have left our group in the last couple of weeks did so without talking to me, without bringing up any issues to me, without hearing any explanation or accepting any correction from me. So we can see by their mood actually what their attitude is, that they don't really believe in their philosophy that they're preaching, because if they did, then they would be able to convince me that it's actually Vedic. And I'm easy to convince. Just show me some scripture. If it's in the Vedas, I'll accept it. If it's in Prabhupada's books, I'll accept it. But the thing is, they cannot show even one word of scripture to justify their arguments. So they have to sneak off very quietly into the sunset without saying anything, because they actually can't defend their views. Maybe they can impress someone who has no knowledge, who's very new, very impressionable, very easily influenced. But, you know, when it comes down to the real truth, you know, like one of them today wanted to post the truth, you know. But the actual standard of truth is what's in the Vedas, not what's in your head. That's part of our philosophy, that the human mind and intelligence are fallible. They're limited. They make mistakes all the time. That's why we need the Vedas. That's why Kṛṣṇa gives the Vedas. But if someone hasn't even read them, how can they claim to represent them? It takes a good 5 years to read through Srila Prabhupada's books one time. So, you know, someone who's only been a devotee a few months probably hasn't even got through Bhagavad-gītā. What to speak of any of the other books. The Bhagavad-gītā is just the intro. So, this always happens. I mean, every time there was a big victory in Srila Prabhupada's movement, then we would see that Maya would attack. And there would be schisms and then revolutions and coups and different kinds of internal dissent within Srila Prabhupada's organization. And so many devotees would leave. I remember when the 5th canto came out. When Prabhupada translated the 5th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, because it contradicts, supposedly contradicts, Western scientific knowledge about astronomy, so many devotees left the movement. Actually, it happened every time Prabhupada published a new book. Somebody would be freaked out by what was in it, and they would leave. Oh, this is impossible. Can't be true. So, you know, in the long run, Srila Prabhupada's books are going to prevail against all different arguments and points of view. If we understand them properly, they can even be harmonized with Western science. Because there's nothing wrong with Western science except that they believe certain theories to be true, which have never been proven. And then they use them as assumptions for developing further theories and so on. So if you have a theory that has not been proven, and then you develop another theory based on it, then that theory is unproven too, and so on and so forth. So there are actually many, many theories that are taught in school as knowledge, but are based on theories that have not been proven, for like the Big Bang and so on, evolution and so on. Those theories cannot be proven. They have too little evidence to prove. Statistically, for example, the number of fossils that we have from the past is such a tiny, tiny sample that it's statistically insignificant. There's a test in statistics that from a certain amount of data, you have to have so many data points to say that you have a valid sample. And the evidence used to support evolution is not a statistically valid sample. So they can't prove it. They'll never prove it. What to speak of things like the Big Bang? How are you going to go back and prove the Big Bang? And there's so many alternate explanations for the phenomena that are quoted as evidence for the Big Bang. But of course, when somebody comes up with one of these, they simply quietly fire them from their university positions and delete all their articles from the journals, and that's the last you hear of them, right? There's even a PhD, a Nobel Prize winning physicist